Keanu Reeves sat alone at a small table by the window. The warm light from the old lamps above made the place feel calm. But his heart was not calm at all. He looked out the window, watching people pass by on the busy street. He wondered if they could feel how lonely he was inside. People saw him as a big star, a man with everything. But tonight, he felt like a boy who had lost too much and did not know where to keep his pain. The waiter, a young man named Liam, came over with a shy smile. Liam had never served a celebrity before. He tried to stay calm, but his hands were shaking. Keanu looked up, gave him a soft smile, and thanked him for the menu. It was this simple kindness that made Liam feel better. He did not expect a man like Keanu to be so gentle. Keanu ordered only a bowl of soup and some bread. He did not want much. Food was not what he came here for. This little restaurant was far from the loud crowds. He had found it years ago when he needed a place to hide from the world. Back then, he came with someone who meant everything to him, his sister. She loved this place because it had her favorite cherry pie. But now, she was gone. Every bite he took tonight tasted like old memories. At the table next to him, a family sat together. There was a mother, a father, and their little daughter. The girl looked about 8, with big brown eyes and hair tied into ponytails. She kept looking at Keanu, her eyes wide. Her parents tried to stop her from staring, but she could not help it. In her small hands, she held a crayon and a napkin. She kept glancing down, scribbling something, then hiding it when her mother peeked. Keanu felt her eyes and turned to her with another gentle smile. He waved his small wave. The girl giggled and covered her face with her tiny hands. She felt shy, but happy. Her father leaned over and whispered, telling her not to disturb the man. She nodded, but her eyes did not leave him. Liam came back to the table and asked if Keanu needed anything else. Keanu said he was fine. Liam wanted to ask for a picture but decided against it. He knew that sometimes people just needed to be left alone. Keanu thanked him again. Every time Keanu said thank you, he meant it. That was what made Liam feel strange. Like serving him was not a job but a moment he would remember forever. Outside, the wind picked up. It was a cold night and raindrops started to hit the window. Keanu pulled his coat tighter. He thought of all the nights he had spent alone, all the hotel rooms that felt empty no matter how beautiful they were. He wished he could call someone, maybe his mother, maybe an old friend, but he did not want to trouble anyone with his sadness. The family next to him paid their bill and stood up to leave. The little girl held her mother's hand, but then broke free. She tiptoed to Keanu's table, holding her folded napkin tight. Her parents tried to stop her, but she shook her head and walked bravely to him. "Hi," she said in a soft voice. Keanu looked at her, surprised but not annoyed. He leaned down so he was closer to her height. "Hello there," he said, his voice gentle like a lullaby. The girl handed him the napkin. Her tiny fingers trembled. Keanu took it carefully, like it was something precious. He opened it slowly. There, in the shaky handwriting of a child, were words that made his eyes blur. "Dear Mr. Keanu, thank you for making my daddy smile when he was sad. You are my hero. Love, Emma." He looked up at her, and she smiled the purest smile he had seen in years. He felt something break inside him, not in a painful way, but like a door opening to a room he had locked long ago. "Can I give you a hug?" she asked, her voice tiny. Keanu nodded. He bent down, and she wrapped her little arms around his neck. He held her back, careful not to crush her. In that hug, he felt the warmth he had missed for so long. He did not want to let go. Her parents stood by, unsure if they should interrupt. The father, a man who looked strong but had tired eyes, gave Keanu a thankful nod. Keanu knew that look. It was the look of a man who had been saved by hope, even if that hope came from a stranger. On a movie screen, Emma pulled back and giggled. She ran back to her parents. Keanu sat there, napkin in hand, tears rolling down his face. For once, he did not hide them. He let them fall, each drop washing away a bit of his hidden grief. Liam saw him crying but said nothing. He knew these were not tears of pain alone. They were tears that healed. Outside, the rain fell harder, but inside, Keanu felt something warm grow in his chest, something he had not felt in a long time. He did not know that this little girl's simple note would lead him to something bigger, something that would change not just his night, but his life in ways he could not yet see. Keanu sat alone for a long time after the family left. He held the napkin in his hands like it was a treasure. He read the little girl's words again and again. Each time he read them, he felt a warmth that fought the cold inside him. He thought about how a child's simple thank you could reach places that fame and money never could. Liam came over and asked if he wanted anything else. Keanu looked up, his eyes still wet but with a small smile now. He said, "Just the pie. Please, the cherry one." It was his sister's favorite. He wanted to taste it again, to remember her, but also to feel close to something good. Liam nodded and hurried away, feeling like he was serving more than just food tonight. As Keanu waited, he looked at the empty chair across from him. He imagined his sister sitting there, laughing, telling him stories about her day. He missed her voice, her silly jokes. He missed the way she would hold his hand when the world felt too loud. He knew she would have loved Emma, the brave little girl with big brown eyes. Then, a voice broke his thoughts. It was a woman's voice, gentle but unsure. "Excuse me, Mr. Reeves?" she asked. Keanu looked up and saw a woman standing by his table. She looked tired but kind, wearing a faded coat and holding a notebook. She seemed like she had waited for a long time to gather the courage to speak. "I'm sorry to bother you," she said, her hands shaking. "I saw what happened with the little girl. I wanted to say thank you to." Keanu gestured for her to sit. She hesitated, but then sat down on the edge of the chair, like she was ready to run if she had to. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice calm. "My name is Claire," she said softly. "I'm a single mother. My son is 12. Last year, he lost his father. It broke him." He stopped talking, stopped smiling. "I didn't know what to do." Keanu listened carefully, his eyes kind and patient. Claire took a shaky breath. "One night, I put on one of your old movies." He didn't want to watch it first, but then he started laughing at the funny parts. "He asked me questions about you. After that, he wanted to watch all your movies. He said you made him feel brave, like he could face the world again." He started to smile. "He started to talk to me again. You gave me my son back." Her voice cracked, and she looked down, embarrassed by her tears. Keanu reached across the table and put his hand over hers. His touch was light, but it was enough to calm her shaking. "Thank you for telling me," he said. "Sometimes I forget that what I do matters." Claire looked up, her eyes red but brighter. "It does. It really does," Liam came back with the cherry pie. He set it down and gave Claire a gentle nod before walking away. He knew this was not a moment for waiters to stand and watch. Keanu pushed the plate toward Claire. "Would you like to share it?" he asked. She laughed a small, nervous laugh. "Are you sure? My sister always said pie tastes better when shared," he said, his voice soft but certain. They sat there, sharing the simple dessert. Two strangers connected by unseen threads of kindness and loss. They did not talk much more. Sometimes, words were not needed. Sometimes it was enough to know that someone else understood the quiet pain you carried. After Claire left, Keanu stayed for a while longer. The napkin from Emma and the notebook Claire had left behind sat side by side on the table. Claire had forgotten her notebook in her hurry. Keanu opened it and saw pages filled with sketches and small notes, dreams of a woman trying to build a better life. He saw drawings of her son, of the small apartment they lived in, and of a tiny coffee shop she dreamed of opening someday. He closed the notebook carefully. He knew he could not walk away from this. Maybe tonight was not just about his healing. Maybe it was also about helping someone else find hope too. Liam came to clear the table. He saw the look in Keanu's eyes, a look that was gentle but filled with something stronger now. Like a quiet promise, "Liam," Keanu said, "could you do me a favor?" "Anything, sir," Liam said quickly. "Do you know Claire? Does she come here often?" Liam nodded. "She lives nearby. She comes here sometimes when she has enough money. Her son likes the pancakes." Keanu gave him a small smile. "Could you make sure she gets this notebook back? And maybe tell her I'd like to see her again. Liam agreed, feeling like he had just stepped into a story bigger than himself. He took the notebook carefully, holding it like it was worth more than gold. Outside, the rain was still falling. Keanu stood by the window, watching it hit the glass. For the first time in a long while, he felt like the storm inside him was calming. A simple napkin, a hug from a child, a stranger's story. These small things had done what all the lights of Hollywood could not. As he left the restaurant that night, he looked back at the empty table. He knew he would be back. There was more to this story, and maybe, just maybe, he was ready to write a new chapter with people who reminded him what kindness could do. The next morning, Keanu woke up early, but he did not feel tired. Instead, he felt a soft energy in his chest, something he had not felt in a long time. He sat by the window of his small home, the napkin from Emma folded neatly on the table beside his tea. He read it again, letting her words remind him that even in his loneliness, he was never really alone. He thought about Claire's notebook. Her dream was simple, a tiny coffee shop where people like her could find work, feel safe, and belong. He could see how hard she was trying to give her son a better life. It touched a part of him that knew what it was like to dream small dreams. That felt big when you had nothing. Keanu made a quiet decision that morning. He grabbed his coat and the napkin, tucked it in his pocket like a lucky charm, and went back to the restaurant. The bell above the door rang as he stepped inside. Liam was there again, wiping down tables. When he saw Keanu, his eyes went wide. "Mr. Reeves, you came back," Liam said, almost dropping his cloth. "Morning, Liam," Keanu said with a soft smile. "Did you find Claire?" "Yes, sir," Liam said. "I gave her the notebook. She was so surprised you cared. She said thank you many times." Keanu nodded. He looked around at the old wooden tables and the smell of fresh coffee in the air. He liked this place. It felt honest. Liam followed him to his favorite table by the window. "Could you give me her number?" Keanu asked. "I'd like to talk to her." Liam hesitated. "I don't know if I should give out her number, sir." Keanu respected that. He admired Liam for protecting Claire's trust. "Then maybe you can call her and ask if she would meet me here today." Liam smiled, feeling proud to be part of something good. He pulled out his phone and stepped away. When he came back, he looked excited. "She said yes. She'll be here in 20 minutes. Keanu sat down and ordered 2 coffees and 2 slices of cherry pie. He wanted to make it feel like last night, simple, honest, warm. When Claire walked in, she looked nervous, holding her bag close. Her eyes softened when she saw Keanu stand to greet her. He pulled out the chair for her, and they sat facing each other. "I hope you didn't feel I was prying," Claire said quickly. "I didn't mean to dump my story on you, Claire," Keanu said, his voice steady. "You didn't dump anything on me. You gave me something. You reminded me that what I do matters. I wanted to thank you for that." Claire's shoulders relaxed. She gave him a small, grateful smile. "You don't have to thank me. I should be thanking you. Can I ask you something?" Keanu leaned in. "Tell me more about your coffee shop idea." Claire's eyes lit up for the first time. She opened her bag and took out the notebook again. Her hands moved quickly as she flipped through pages. She showed him sketches of a tiny place with warm lights, big windows, and a corner shelf of books for people to read. There were drawings of her son helping behind the counter. "I want it to be a place where people like me can work," Claire said. "Single moms, people who need a second chance. I want it to feel safe." Keanu listened closely. He saw the passion behind her tired eyes. He saw how much she wanted to build something that would last. When she finished, she looked at him shyly. "It's silly, I know." "It's not silly at all," Keanu said. "It's beautiful." He reached into his pocket and took out a small black notebook of his own. It was old, worn at the edges. He opened it and wrote down a number, tearing the page carefully. "There's a man I trust," he said. "He helps people start small businesses. He's kind, like you. He can help you with permits, rent, everything." Claire took the paper, her hands shaking. "But I don't have the money." Keanu stopped her gently. "Let me help you. Let me invest in this, not as charity, as a real chance for you and your son. You don't owe me anything back, but if you ever want to, you can pay it forward." Help someone else like I'm helping you." Tears filled Claire's eyes. She covered her mouth with her hand. She had never imagined this. For so long, she had been fighting alone. Now, someone sat across from her, ready to lift the weight from her shoulders. "Why me?" she asked softly. "You don't even know me." Keanu's eyes were warm. "Sometimes the people we don't know are the ones who change us the most." Liam stood by the counter, pretending to wipe the same spot again and again, but he was watching everything. He felt his heart swell. The small restaurant had become a place where miracles happened. As they finished their pie, Claire talked about her son, how much he loved reading, how he wanted to be a writer someday. Keanu listened, like every word mattered. In his mind, he pictured the little boy sitting by the window of that future coffee shop, doing homework while his mother served coffee and laughter. When they stood to leave, Claire hugged Keanu tightly. It was not the hug of a fan meeting a star. It was the hug of a human thanking another human for believing in her when she had almost stopped believing in herself. As Keanu walked back into the rainy street, he felt lighter. The napkin from Emma was still in his pocket, safe. He knew now it was not just a note. It was a seed of hope that was growing into something bigger than he could have imagined. What he did not know yet was that this small act of kindness would ripple out in ways he could not see. The napkin would find its way to someone else. The story would not end here. It was only beginning. Weeks passed after that rainy night. The small promise Keanu made to Claire turned into real steps. He called his old friend, a man named Ben, who had helped him with charities before. Ben was the kind of man who never wore a suit but always carried a pen behind his ear. He understood dreams that did not fit in shiny offices. Keanu and Ben met Claire at a tiny community center near her apartment. Claire brought her son, Noah, with her. Noah was shy at first. He kept hiding behind his mother, peeking at Keanu with curious eyes. When Keanu knelt down to greet him, Noah managed a small smile. He looked so much like the drawings Claire kept in her notebook. They talked for hours at a long wooden table that smelled of old books and fresh coffee. Claire showed Ben her notebook, every page filled with ideas, even costs she had written in pencil. Ben listened with respect. He treated her like a real business owner, not someone asking for help. Keanu sat beside her, quiet but ready to speak when her courage faltered. Noah sat next to his mother, his tiny hand always holding hers. When he got bored, he drew pictures of the coffee shop, big windows, friendly people, and shelves filled with books. Every drawing made Claire smile wider. For the first time in years, her dream felt alive. By the end of the meeting, Ben promised he would help her find a small space for rent. They would figure out the paperwork, the licenses, everything. That felt impossible alone. When they left the center that night, Claire looked at Keanu, her eyes bright even under the streetlight. "You don't know what you've done for me," she said. "Maybe one day you'll do the same for someone else," Keanu said, squeezing her hand. As they said goodbye, Noah tugged on Keanu's coat. He held out one of his drawings. "This is for you," he said, his voice shy but clear. Keanu took the drawing, a picture of the coffee shop with a tiny stick figure at the door waving. Above the door, Noah had written Keanu's Cafe in big, crooked letters. Keanu laughed softly and hugged the boy. "Thank you, buddy. I'll keep it forever." Weeks turned into months. Claire found a small corner shop with a big window that let the sunlight pour in every morning. The walls were old, the floor creaked, and the paint peeled in some places, but to Claire and Noah, it was perfect. Keanu visited often, sometimes helping her carry boxes, sometimes just sitting on the floor with Noah, drawing silly pictures while Claire painted the walls. Word spread around the neighborhood that something special was happening. People who knew Claire's story dropped by to help. A single father who fixed the squeaky door for free. An old woman who brought curtains she had sewn by hand. Teenagers who painted signs and washed windows. Every person left a piece of their kindness behind. One evening, as they all sat on the dusty floor, eating cheap pizza and laughing about spilled paint, Claire pulled out the napkin. Emma's napkin that had started everything. She had asked Keanu for it weeks ago. Now, she wanted to hang it in the cafe once they opened. It should remind us, she said. Her voice warm, that small kindness can change everything. Keanu touched the napkin with the tip of his finger. He thought about Emma, the brave little girl with the big heart. He wondered if she knew what her tiny note had done. Someday, he promised himself, he would find her again. As the days passed, they finally opened the cafe's doors. It was not fancy, but it was warm. The smell of fresh coffee and pastries mixed with the soft music that played from an old radio. People came in not just for coffee, but for the feeling, a place where they could sit for hours without buying much, where no one felt alone. One morning, Keanu sat at his usual spot by the window. He watched Claire behind the counter, laughing with a customer. Noah sat at a small table doing homework, his feet swinging under the chair. Ben was at another table, making notes about new ways to help more people start businesses like this. Then, something caught Keanu's eye. Through the window, he saw a man standing across the street. The man looked rough, clothes dirty, hair tangled, eyes lost. He held a piece of cardboard with words that barely stayed on the page because of the rain that had started to fall. People passed him by, some looking away, some shaking their heads. Keanu felt a familiar ache in his chest. He stood up, grabbed a cup of hot coffee, and walked outside. The cold rain hit his face, but he did not care. He crossed the street and stopped in front of the man. "Hi," Keanu said softly. The man looked at him, surprised. He was used to being ignored. "Would you like some coffee?" Keanu asked. The man hesitated, then nodded. Keanu handed him the warm cup. They stood there for a moment, two men in the rain, one with more pain than the other, but both carrying something heavy. "Come inside," Keanu said. "We have a warm place for you." The man looked at the coffee shop, then back at Keanu. His eyes filled with tears. No one had spoken to him kindly in a long time. Inside, Claire looked up and saw Keanu leading the man in. She said nothing, just nodded and pointed to a chair by the window, the same spot where Keanu had sat that first night. Liam, who now worked at the coffee shop too, brought over a fresh pastry and set it in front of the man without asking for a penny. As the man sipped his coffee, his shaking hands slowly stilled. For the first time in days, maybe weeks, he felt human again. Keanu sat across from him, quiet, just like he had done with Claire. He did not ask for a story. Sometimes all people needed was to be seen, and in that small act, another seed was planted. Kindness spread, one simple moment at a time. None of them knew it yet. But this man would be the next story that proved how a little note on a napkin could change more than just one life. It could change the world, one heart at a time. The man's name was Peter. Nobody in the neighborhood really knew him. They had seen him standing by the bus stop with his old coat and his cardboard sign. Some people said he had been an artist once. Others said he was just another lost soul who drank too much and talked too little. Inside the warm cafe, Peter sat, hunched over his coffee cup. His hands still shook from the cold outside. He could not look anyone in the eyes. He felt like he did not belong, like the kindness was too big for him to hold. But Keanu sat there beside him, patient and quiet, just like he had been with Claire that first night. Liam brought over a fresh sandwich. He set it down and gave Peter a nod that said, "You're welcome here." Peter's eyes filled with tears. He wiped them with the back of his sleeve. "Thank you," Peter whispered. His voice was dry and rough, like he had forgotten how to speak to people. Keanu leaned in, his voice soft. "Peter, you don't have to say thank you. Just eat, warm up, and stay as long as you want." Peter looked around the cafe. He saw Claire at the counter, smiling at a young couple. He saw Noah sitting on the floor, reading a book to another child whose mother worked at the cafe now. He saw Liam wiping tables and laughing with customers. He saw the napkin, Emma's napkin, hanging in a small wooden frame by the door. He read the words again and again. "Thank you for making my daddy smile when he was sad. You are my hero. Love, Emma." Peter felt something crack inside him. He had not smiled in months. He had not felt warm in years. He took a bite of the sandwich. Each bite reminded him of what it felt like to be seen, to be human. As days passed, Peter kept coming back. Sometimes he sat in the same spot, looking out the window at the rain. Sometimes he helped Liam sweep the floor. Sometimes he read books with Noah, who asked him simple questions and waited for answers with so much patience that Peter's heart ached. One morning, Keanu sat with him again. They talked about nothing at first: the weather, the taste of the pie, how the light hit the big front window just right in the morning. Then, Keanu asked gently, "What did you do before this?" Peter looked at him, shame filling his eyes. "I painted. I used to do murals, big ones, on old buildings. Then I lost my place to live. My wife left. My hands started to shake. I couldn't paint straight lines anymore." Keanu nodded. He did not rush him. He just listened. "Sometimes," Peter whispered, "I still see pictures in my head, but I'm too broken to make them real." Keanu reached into his bag and pulled out a sketchbook. It was brand new, the pages clean and white. He placed it in front of Peter. "Maybe you're not as broken as you think," he said. "Maybe you just need a place to start again." Peter touched the sketchbook like it was made of glass. His hands trembled, but not just from fear, also from hope. A few weeks later, Claire had an idea. She asked Peter if he would paint a mural on the blank wall inside the cafe. At first, Peter refused. He said his hands were not steady. He said he would mess it up. But Claire put her hand on his shoulder and said, "It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours." So, early one morning, before the cafe opened, Peter came with his paints. He stood in front of the blank wall, shaking so badly. He almost dropped his brush. But then he saw Noah watching him, holding a cup of warm cocoa. Noah said, "You can do it, Peter." Peter took a deep breath and made the first stroke. It was not straight. It did not look like much, but stroke by stroke, line by line, color by color, something came to life on that wall. People stopped by to watch him work. They brought him coffee and food. They told him their stories. They cheered him on. By the end of the week, the blank wall was gone. In its place was a mural of a tree with wide branches, each branch filled with small pictures: a little girl hugging a man, a mother holding her son, a warm cup of coffee being handed to a cold stranger. In the corner of the tree was the napkin, painted exactly how Emma had written it. Under the tree, Peter signed his name in shaky letters. On the day Peter finished the mural, Keanu came to see it. He stood there for a long time, his eyes moving over every branch and every story hidden in the leaves. He looked at Peter, who stood back, wiping paint off his fingers. "You did this," Keanu said. "We did this," Peter corrected him, his voice stronger now. "All of us." Word about the mural spread fast. People came from other neighborhoods just to see it. Some sat in the cafe for hours, looking at the tree, pointing at the napkin, whispering to each other about kindness and hope. Some left small notes under the mural, little thank you messages for someone who had helped them when they needed it most. Peter kept painting after that. He found small jobs on the side. People asked him to paint their shop signs, their kids' bedrooms, even old fences that needed a touch of color. Every time he finished, he always came back to the cafe, sat in his usual spot, and smiled at the tree on the wall. And every day, Keanu sat in his spot by the window, watching all of it happen. He saw how the napkin, a little girl's simple note, had turned into something bigger than any of them had ever dreamed. He knew the story was not done yet, because kindness, like a tree, keeps growing, and every branch holds another chance to save someone who thinks they are alone. Months turned into a year. The little cafe by the corner window became more than just a place for coffee. People started calling it the Napkin Cafe because everyone knew the story of the tiny note that had brought so many broken hearts together. Claire's dream grew bigger than she ever thought it could. She hired more people like Peter, people who had once been forgotten, but who now found purpose again. A young woman who had aged out of foster care came to work there. An older man who had lost his job and his home now washed dishes in the back, always humming soft songs to himself. They all became a family. Peter's mural on the wall got bigger too. Every time something special happened in the cafe, he added to the tree. There were new branches with tiny painted birds and flowers. There were hidden hearts, each one carrying a name of someone who had found hope there. People would stand for hours looking for the details in Peter's art, feeling like the wall itself breathed life. Keanu never stopped coming. Some nights he sat alone. Sometimes he sat with Noah, helping him with homework. Other nights he just watched. He knew he did not need to do big things to change the world. Sometimes it was enough to hold a door open, share a meal, or listen to a story. One cold afternoon, the bell above the door rang. Claire looked up and froze. Standing there was Emma, the little girl who had written the note that had started it all. But she was not so little anymore. She was taller now, her hair longer, her eyes the same bright brown. She held her father's hand as they walked in. Liam saw Keanu sitting at his window table and whispered, "She's here." Keanu turned and his eyes softened. He stood up, his heart beating fast. He had often wondered if he would ever see Emma. Again, Emma let go of her father's hand and ran to Keanu. She hugged him tight, her arms wrapping around his waist like she had done that first night. He bent down, tears already filling his eyes. "You remember me?" she asked, her voice trembling, but strong. "How could I ever forget you?" Keanu said, his voice cracking with emotion. Emma's father came over, eyes wet too. "She's been asking me for months to find this place. I wanted her to see what her words did." Keanu smiled at him. "Thank you for bringing her." Emma looked around the cafe. She saw the napkin framed on the wall. She saw the mural, the giant tree filled with hope and stories. She saw people laughing, sharing coffee, feeling safe. "Is this because of me?" she asked. Keanu touched her shoulder. "This is because of you. Your words made me remember what kindness can do. They reminded me I was not alone. You gave me that, Emma." Emma's eyes sparkled with tears. She hugged him again, tighter this time. Peter came over from the back, wiping paint off his hands. He knelt down beside Emma. "Do you want to paint something on my mural?" he asked. "A branch just for you." Emma's eyes lit up. Claire brought her a brush. Peter guided her tiny hand as she painted a new branch, small but strong. At the end of that branch, she painted a single red heart dot under the branch. Peter wrote Emma's hope in careful, shaky letters. The whole cafe watched in silence, their hearts beating as one. Liam wiped away a tear. Claire squeezed Noah's hand. Keanu felt the warmth in his chest grow bigger than any sadness he had ever carried. Emma's father looked at Keanu. "Thank you for showing her that her words matter." Keanu shook his head. "No, thank you for raising her to be brave enough to share them." That night, when the cafe lights dimmed and the last customer left, Keanu sat alone by the window. He looked at the mural, the tree that started with a napkin. He thought about how small things grow when you care for them, how a child's crayon letters could heal broken hearts, how strangers could become family. Outside, the rain began to fall, tapping softly against the glass. But inside, the warmth of kindness stayed bright. And as long as that napkin hung on the wall, everyone who walked through that door would know, no one is too small to change the world. And sometimes, the gentlest words written by a little girl on an old napkin are enough to make even the loneliest man remember that love, hope, and kindness never really leave us. They wait for us to share them, one hug, one meal, one story at a time.